Hey guys, welcome to Encounters and the live stream. We're coming live to you from the UK. It is 1 o'clock in the morning here, so it's probably about 8 o'clock where you are. And we are live at an alleged haunted location. We didn't just want to do this from my house. We want to get the whole team involved, so you get to meet the entire team of Encounters, not just myself that you see, and also Kev that you'll meet in a minute. We want to get the whole team involved and just live stream to you guys. We'll be on hopefully for at least half an hour, maybe an hour, and also as we're recording from this live location, we may even get some stuff happen. We've been here for a couple of hours already, and we've already had various devices going off. The REM pod's gone off. We've heard whispering and shuffling, so we'll talk more about that as we go on. So really honestly, just comment in with any questions, anything you've got. As I say, we're going to be here most of the night. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here. It's very dark, pretty cold as well, as it's April. But I thought, basically, you all know me. You see my pictures. You've probably watched. And there we go. The REM pod. That was a REM pod going off there. Now, bearing in mind, I'm stood right in front of the REM pod. I'm not actually close enough to set it off. And we'll talk more about the REM pod as we go through the evening. But what I thought I'd do first is introduce you to the team that we've got, the Encounters team. I think what I'll do is move the REM pod out of the way just to see if there's any reaction over by this entranceway. But let's introduce you. Let's introduce you to the team first, so you get to see the people who are not only in front of the camera but also behind the camera. So if you like to look around, we've got Mikey here, part of the production team. We've got Kev, he's our obviously co-host and residential medium. You get to speak to Kev a bit later. We've got Rich here, also part of the production crew, and Fletch is behind the camera as we speak. So that's a team. Cheers guys. So as I say, I've got the tablet here so I can get to see what you're sending through in the comments. So this is great. Got a couple of questions in. What kind of ghosts are here? That's a very good question. From Matt, basically this is our first time here tonight, and as part of the Encounters process, before we go into any location and film for what could be 3 or 4 days, we have to recce that location first. And there's a number of things we have to look for. One, is the location suitable? Two, obviously, is to do with the legalities and the health and safety side of the building, and also the people that work there. But also we like to research the history of the place to find out if it's, you know, is it worth investigating that place? Is there any activity that's already been recorded there? Now with this place, the specialist person you want to be talking to about the ghosts here is Kevin, our resident medium, who I'll pass over to you a bit later, and you can have a chat. But basically, one of the main spirits that's been seen here is a lady in white, or she's known as the White Lady, and she's quite a main ghost here, because literally just behind this site is White Lady Road, and it's literally named after the site of the White Lady. Now this evening we've already had experience with what we believe to be the White Lady. So we'll talk more about that as we go through the evening. But as you know, with Encounters, Margam Castle was our first season, if you like. Episode 4 just literally run last week. Episode 5 is due to run on Monday, which is the last episode in this season. We'll have a break before we move into Bodmin Jail, which is an absolutely fantastic location, which is close to where we live as well. It's a brilliant location. Really hope you enjoyed that. And we hope you enjoyed Margam Castle episodes. I think you'll find that it was quite enlightening. Certainly some of the recordings and some of the sounds that we got through the ghost box with regards to the room, and also the feedback that we had with the guy who built it. So what else we've got? Hello Susan, welcome. Probably the best thing to do now is to pass you over to Kev if you want to know more about where we are. and Kev will then give you some information about the spirits that are found here and the active locations. So you want to come in, Kev?
Yeah, sure. All right, Jay.
Cheers, Kev.
Hello. Welcome. Yeah, where we are now is a very old site. I mean, I don't know if you could see just behind here, got the old fireplace, date up here, 1640. So it actually gives you an idea of how the actual building is we're in. It's actually an old boathouse, and it's there's a lake just not far from here, and we have other buildings around here as well. It's actually part on land of an old manor house which was demolished unfortunately in 1937. There's a lot of old buildings still associated to the manor house that's still here today. And one of the most famous hauntings, as Jay's mentioned, it's been documented. Many people have experienced seeing the White Lady of the lake. And unfortunately what occurred is she went to meet with a friend who was from a different class, from a different gentry. And she went on a bit of a midnight ramble. She met a friend at the lake here. They went out on the boat. And unfortunately, within a few moments, absolute chaos occurred. She fell off the boat into the icy cold water, and unfortunately met her fate, and she drowned. Hence why you have the White Lady of the lake here that haunts the place, and she has been sighted many times. There are other activity and other sightings that have been seen here as well. A monk is said to haunt the site, and the actual site, the land, dates back to the 11th century as well, and there was a monastery built upon the land and a couple of chapels as well, and monks have been seen here, and also a figure, a very odd looking creature has been sighted here with very large saucer eyes. Bit of a cryptozoology sort of thing really, not so much a haunting, but a bit of an odd strange beast has been sighted around here. And tonight all the crew pretty much here, as we've been here for the past 4 hours, have had some strange experiences. We've had noises, we've actually got a picture as well of what we believe may be associated to the haunting of this place, which was actually taken previously by a photographer, I believe. Rich, you've got some information, haven't you?
Yeah, so this is just from a post. I think you can share this whole article later, and we'll stick the link up. But this here is like a zoomed in close of a photo that was taken on 35mm camera, black and white image, taken in 2005, I believe. So yet you can clearly see there's a quite a prominent outline of a figure there, which is located in the doorway just in front of Kevin. So one of these doorways here.
Yeah, this one here.
This one there. Yeah,
just here.
And we've all kind of experienced that a little bit already tonight. We were standing right here earlier, and you were talking, weren't you, Kev, about this potential white lady?
Around, definitely.
And
yeah.
I did get a sensation of next to me. My hackles went up, hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and you think she's taken a liking to me?
She has taken a liking to Rich. Got the pendulum out, done a bit of dowsing, and the pendulum highlighted where the actual lady was. And I asked why she next to Rich, because you were getting some sensations, weren't you? Yeah. And REM pod's going off now as we're talking about her. There's no one near that, as you can see. Jason's just behind Fletch. So, but yeah, so got the old pendulum out. Was doing a bit of dowsing, and highlighted that the lady was next to Rich. She took a liking to Rich. It reminded her of a friend when she was alive. So she's got some affiliation, I think, or something with Rich there, that he definitely looks like someone. Reminds someone as well. But yeah, as you can see, it's quite active in here. I mean, we've all heard certain things as well. I know, Chelsea, you've had some experiences tonight, haven't you? I mean, both of us at the same time felt very heavy-headed, no pun intended, but almost felt like you're underwater. The pressure on my head at one point is unbelievable, and you can definitely sense there's something around. The atmosphere feels really spiky. 1 minute it's quite calm, and the next minute you just feel a bit, okay, who's around here? Your hackles are up. You can feel the energies moving through amongst the team. And you've had feelings, and you've heard, you're saying you heard a female voice as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Chelsea's heard voice.
It sounded like a female voice, kind of coming from this way, and then coming from this way, kind of shouting like she was calling out, that kind of thing, every so often, kept happening, which is a bit spooky, but yeah.
So as you can see, like Chelsea explaining then, and other members of the team as well, and I know Jason's had some experience tonight. I mean, when we first arrived, Jay, you had an experience. Both of us did as well, didn't we, really? But that sighting, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically what's really interesting is that a lot of the activity that you seem to find or you experience usually happens when you're not actually looking for it. And we literally just walked up to the site, we were just checking it out, reckoning it for this, and just walked down through the door there, and if we've got time we'll nip down later. And there's another building just further down, and as we're walking, Kev was in front with his torch, we were all behind, and as we're approaching this building it looked like a shadow hand just disappeared into the building itself, and it moved quite slowly, so it wasn't as if as you pass your torch you see a shadow. With everyone behind Kev and Kev being in front with a torch, there's no way a shadow could have been cast, which is really interesting. But I notice here Matt has asked any details of what the cryptid looked like.
From what I understand from researching it previously, from what I understand it's like a sort of a dog type of animal with huge saucer for eyes, so a very bizarre looking animal indeed. Definitely 4 legs, that's what's been described in the past. I think it was sighted about even within the past 10 years. I mean, so that has been seen around here, and we've heard some noises tonight, but obviously there's a lot of nature around here. You've got obviously foxes around here and wildlife as well, but fortunately we won't come face to face with him, but would be good to, I think, wouldn't it?
Would be good, especially live tonight.
Yeah, live,
that'd be
definitely.
excellent. I mean, obviously one of the things you have to take into account whenever you're recceing a new location, and especially on investigation, is the ambient noise, the ambient visuals. There's a lake just there, there's a bit of a waterfall just over there. There is a road behind us, but it's a private road, so cars shouldn't be going up and down, and the main road is probably about 200 yards that way. So technically we shouldn't be hearing car sounds, and being 1 o'clock in the morning, people shouldn't be walking around really, apart from us crazy folk, if you like, doing investigations. So it's quite an interesting location so far. As I say, with the REM pod has gone off now a number of times since, you know, for the last 5-6 minutes it hasn't made a sound, so that's really interesting. So at first we thought maybe the tech is interfering with it. Bearing in mind we've only got, well, 2 tablet, if you like, and a phone camera that's running, so that shouldn't really be interfering with the REM pod. It's only static energy that should be picking up. As we know, walkie-talkies tend to set that off, but we haven't got any tonight. So that's really interesting. It's good to see a lot more of you are coming on. Hello, Dave. Dave, are you at a castle? From Susan. It's not a castle. It looks like it with this fireplace, which is dated 1640.
Yeah.
But this is actually, what is this?
This is the boathouse.
This is the boathouse at Radford Lake, and this is in Plymstock in Plymouth in the UK. So as I say, this is the first time we've investigated it. Kev has written about this in his book Haunted Plymouth and Haunted Dartmoor.
Yeah, Haunted Dartmoor, yeah.
Haunted Dartmoor. So if you want to read more about this place, please go and have a look on Amazon for Kev Hines' book.
REM pod going again.
Maybe they must want to read it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if it's a link to your book, mate.
It could be nice.
So yeah, it's called Haunted Dartmoor and Haunted Plymouth by Kevin Hines. Definitely have a read, and you'll find out more about this area, if you like, and the history and the hauntings here. So that's great.
Did I mention about Sir Walter Raleigh?
No, you
historical note: Sir Walter Raleigh, obviously a friend of Francis Drake, very well-known Plymouthian throughout the world, and Sir Walter Raleigh was actually incarcerated at Radford House, which is the house which was just up away from here, the Elizabethan house. And before he was actually sentenced to death in the Tower of London, it turns out that after he was actually killed, his head was obviously used decapitated, and his wife would carry his head around with her until she passed for the remainder of his days. So you can imagine this lady, obviously a widow now, carrying her husband's head around everywhere she went. Bit of a gruesome fact, but just links in with the area. So Walter Raleigh was incarcerated in a house, manor house associated to actually where we are now.
So it would have been a nice little mummified head
imagine,
in a box.
Yeah,
and
not nice, but I thought just put it out there. And I
Interesting.
mentioned Drake as well, and Drake would have moored up just down from here. Obviously you got the lake, but there's a tidal creek as well. And Sir Francis Drake would have moored up his ships down there, along with many of the fleet as well. So we're looking back, you know, so Armada was 1588, so there's a lot of history here, a lot of history. And Drake would have stayed once again at Radford House, so would have had a lot of lavish parties here, you know. So you can imagine this place back in the day would have been hustling and bustling with so many people.
The great thing is that, well, a shame really is Radford House, where Kev mentions that he would have stayed, is now unfortunately demolished, and there's a whole other plot that's been built there. So we can't actually investigate Radford House as much as we would like to have done. But this location here is just, fantastic. And as I say, we've been here a couple of hours already. We've literally been in and around this little location. And as we've already said, we've seen things. Everyone in this room has already experienced their own thing. We've seen thick mist move in. I mean, it's getting quite foggy outside now, and thick mists have been moving past. But we've had sounds of footsteps, ladies whispering, voices, in an area that there are no people. Obviously, we've got the lake, as I mentioned. The REM pod has been going quite active tonight, which is very unusual, because the REM pod may go once or twice, but tonight she's been quite active with various colours. If we've got time, we might do some calling out in a minute on live, and we'll see if we get any interaction. We've obviously got other tools available, and probably, as you've seen, the K2, which is an EMF meter for measuring electromagnetic energy. Again, that might react with some of the equipment we've got. However, we have had experiences in the past with literal conversations, interacting with that K2, ask a question, and it gives an answer, a yes or no answer. And in the Bob in Jail episodes that will be airing in the next couple of weeks, you'll see that I actually have a conversation with something, a spirit, in Bob in Jail using the REM pod, and the REM pod reacts when I'm asking questions, which is really interesting. And that should be airing once Margam Castle episode's finished this week, Monday. Last chance to get to see Margam Castle. Then they will have a week break, and then we'll move straight into the Bob in Jail episode. So I really say worth a watch, because there's some cracking stuff that goes on there. Let's have a look. Any more questions? We've got a great one here from Alice. Where is your favourite place to investigate, and why? That's a very good question, and it's one that Dave Schrader asked me on his radio show Beyond the Darkness, going back last week. And my favourite place, I think, in the whole of the UK is Craignos Castle, which is up in Wales, and it's probably the only location that has really I've had to leave early twice. Kev's been on both times when I've been there, and I think one of the most fearful things that happened to me was that it used to be an old castle. It's now a hotel, but they've kept a lot of the old features, if you like, that was there. And there's a theatre there, and it's called the Adelina Patti Theatre, because that was the name of the lady that bought her. And what's interesting is the theatre's still there. You've got all the chairs, big theatre, auditorium, a stage, and a piano, and it's all still left the way it was, and probably is still used as a theatre to today. But we took down some music that was played by Adelina Patti on a tape recorder or a CD, I can't remember which, and we did something called Singapore Theory, and that's where you try to recreate the events that may have occurred at that time. And we thought, right, let's see if we can try and recreate the events of Adelina Patti playing on stage some old classical music. And so we put the tape recorder running right at the start of the session. So we run an hour session right at the start, 5 of us in the team in the room, some filming, played the tape. I sat down on the chair, and I just let the music from the tape recorder fold over me. So initially, as I sat down, I hadn't started the tape yet, and I just imagined that the room was filled with people in tuxedos, white or black, the bow ties, mumbling, talking to themselves, that low hum that would overcome a theatre. And I can imagine Adelina Patti sitting down at the piano and just warming up and start playing, and the whole of the auditorium goes silent as she performs her piece. And then also when she finished her piece, I can imagine everyone standing up with an eruptious applause and cheers, and then sort of mumbling again as the performance finishes. And with that, one of the colleagues tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Come on, Jace, it's time for us to go." And I said, "Kev, what are you on about? The music's just finished. We've been here 5 minutes. No, we'd been there an hour, but I had blanked out for 55 minutes. And this whole experience, it really, really scared me, because when I came out of this weird out zoned experience, all I had was no emotion. I had no emotion whatsoever. I remember it, and I just sat there and I just felt drained, and I was, oh, okay, all right, we need to go. And it turns out the guys had been trying to interact with me over the hour, and they'd even filmed me up to my eyes and shone a torch in my eyes, and my pupils didn't react. There was no dilation whatsoever. And on seeing that footage, the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I tried to carry on. I think we went for another 15, 20 minutes, and I said, I've got to go. And this is up in Wales, you know, it's a good 4 or 5 hour journey back to Cornwall. And I said, nah, I've got to go. I can't stay here. And it was another 45 minutes after leaving that I started to feel myself again, and I got all cold and shivery, like I'd just got out of a cold lake. And then I started to feel emotion, and I think I had a little cry. And it was the weirdest experience ever. Been there twice, and both times I've ended up leaving early. It's the only location that's probably beaten me, I would say. And we are due to go back at some stage. We're definitely going to go back. That's great from Susan. Her ancestors are from Scotland. It's a nice place, Scotland. As you know, the UK, it's a very, very old isle. UK and Ireland, if you like. Well, Great Britain and Ireland. And there is a lot of historical history. There's a lot of history in the whole of the UK. There's a lot of old buildings. You know, Kevin's written about Dartmoor, and you're talking, you know, you go back megalithic, monolithic, Jurassic, and the same with I've written about Bodmin Moor. And you've got, you know, the stones that stand there high, and you just think, how are they standing? You know, who's put them there? You talk about giants, you talk about fairies. You know, there's a lot of old myths and legends associated with the UK that go back, you know, AD, BC, you know, lots of years BC. So the UK itself, we're lucky. We still got a lot of buildings that's standing. You know, this fireplace from 1640. You know, it's pretty old, but we've got buildings that are still standing from 900 AD. The ancient Ram Inn. That's an old pub. That's one of the oldest pubs in the UK.
It is, yeah.
You know, that was
very active as well.
That's a great place.
You've done that yourself, haven't you? I haven't had the pleasure.
Have you not been?
Not yet. No.
Oh, it's a brilliant place. Must do it. Ancient Ram. Any more questions? Keep firing them through, guys. We're here all night, basically. Notice again the REM pod hasn't actually gone off for a while, which is interesting. But obviously, if you've just joined us, we are Encounters. We are the Encounters team, and you can catch up with all our episodes on the Dark Zone, darkzone.tv, also on footprint.tv. We are there. Brand new show. This is our first season that's going out at the moment, which was filmed at Margam Castle up in Wales. Another great location, big old Gothic castle, and we were only there a couple of days. That's all we had. I think it was 2 or 3 days we were there, and we literally filmed for 24 hours on one occasion. It was right from the morning right the way through. We had 4 hours sleep, and then we filmed for another 16 hours. So it's full on. When we do this, it's proper full on. Presentations, we've got to get all the B-roll in, and then the lone investigation at night.
And then you sleep for days afterwards.
And then you sleep for days afterwards, yeah. Oh yeah, you sleep for days after.
But you do have some strange dreams as well. Yeah.
A lot of people have asked about the format of the show. Obviously, you only see me doing any investigation, and it's overnight. And the reason behind it is twofold for this game. The first one, which is the scientific reason, it's a rational reason, is when there's a lot of people around, like we've got at the moment, in a room, you hear a sound. It could be a coat rustling. It could be someone's actually leant against a window and tapped the window, or someone's stood on a squeaky floorboard. And the problem with that is then you can't decide on whether what you've heard is normal. Has it been caused by someone in the room, or is it something else, paranormal potentially? So the whole concept behind the show is one person locked in a room, locked in a building for the whole session, 12 hours, however long it takes. Any sounds that are heard then further around that person, and hopefully recorded on camera and on voice recorder, it can't be anyone else. There is no one else in that building. And that really, really adds to the whole sort of credentials, if you like, the credibility of anything that's captured. Second reason, obviously, is it adds to the fear factor. And I can't deny that in a company of people, you know, you don't feel so scared. But when you're locked in a location on your own, it all goes quiet, all the lights go out, and you realise you're there on your own, that's when the fear factor kicks in. And I know you think, right, well, I'm there, I need to capture something because we're making a show. But you still think, wait a minute, I am literally here on my own. There's no one else. I'm on the radio, obviously. I've got the radio out to the guys who are outside in a van or at a location nearby. So if anything did go wrong, we've always got communication with those guys. But it really, until you can do it yourself, it really opens your eyes to how vulnerable you can feel in a room with no one else in there. It really is amazing. And I think what heightens that is when you do experience something, when you hear something, when you see something, there's the fight or flight thing kicks in. And for me it's both, because when I first experience something or I see something, it takes me aback. But then usually I end up trying to run towards it to film it because you think of the show. And I think as you watch the episodes, we've got a great special season that is coming up later in the year, where we record a documentary about ritualistic practices and Satanism specifically, and there is a major bit of activity that we capture that is unbelievable, and you'll see that, and it's for us it's one of the best captures.
It was intense, wasn't it? I must admit, I even had a word with you about that episode, didn't I? I said be careful.
We started to really get close to things that maybe we shouldn't have got so close to.
Yeah.
And you'll see that there'll be a trailer that will show some of the stuff that's coming out in that episode, when that series I should say, later. Let's have a look, see if you've got any more. Seeing a lot of strange white flashes. Is someone taking photos? No, we've got no photos, but we have got beam lights. So whether they're sort of reflecting off the camera lens, I don't know. What else we got? Keep firing your questions through, anything, even if it's non-encounters related. Just want to know about us guys. You know, just literally feel free to ask us any questions. As I say, we're here at Radford Lake, which is near White Lady Road. It's got a lot of history that Kev has spoken about. And also, please feel free to go on over to our page, Encounters, and our website, encounters.tv, and have a look at some other stuff that we've done there. We do a lot of outtake videos as well, you know, and just sort of when we recce different locations, we have a bit of fun as well. You've got to have a bit of fun in this game. So yeah, feel free, ask questions. Kev's doing a bit of a
doze. She's here again, as early as you can see. Get the pendulum going. I think she's so look, where are you? They're just calling out to the White Lady. You still here with us? My yes is falling back. Stop. Show me my no for the pendulum. My no would be left to right. So this is just one tool I use for visual aid. Show me my yes. My yes is falling back, as you can see. So I'll get it going. So just calling out to the White Lady. You still here with us now? Yes. Stop. Could you please point me in the direction of where you are? Which is ironic because the gent holding the camera now is Rich, and she has an affiliation with Rich, and at the moment I would say she's pretty much...
She's still following me around.
Still following you around. She's just in front of you, but that's the impression I'm getting, Rich. So, let's have a look.
I don't take her home with me tonight.
No. Yeah, it stopped right there. So this is literally where she is at the moment, and this is where we've been picking up throughout the evening. But she was a bit further down earlier where you were standing, Rich, so she's moving around. But we have had some activity with her. Whether it was her setting the REM pod off, we got the impression it might have been something else doing that. It was a monk earlier, I think we picked up on as well, wasn't it? So I know, Mikey, you saw sort of a shadow, didn't you, outside?
Yeah.
Just behind us here. Like this window, it's coming a bit misty now, but yeah, there's activity around here, and you know, you definitely feel it in the atmosphere. And obviously with the lady as well, she's some affiliation with Rich, reminding of someone in her life. But it's a sad tale to hear what happened to her, and obviously she's quite happy to communicate. It'd be nice if she could make some more interaction maybe with the REM pod in a moment, but see if Jay picks up on her as well. He might be able to get her to come forward and do something. Any more questions, Jay?
Not at the moment, mate.
Yeah,
we'll keep them coming, yeah. Yeah, so keep the questions coming as much as you can. Find out more about us, anything about encounters. As I say, Margam Castle series is coming to a close Monday night. It will be released on the Dark Zone, so please take a look at the final episode of Margam. And as I say, we've got great series of Bodmin Jail coming up, literally following that quite soon. I don't know whether want to maybe call out and see if we get any action on the REM pod.
Good, yeah.
I'll tell you what though, before we do that, can you get Boo Buddy from my bag,
Yeah,
please?
sure.
We got a lot of questions with regards to certain voices that you may hear when I'm in my investigation, if you like, in any of these sessions. As I said, I am the only one on those investigation sessions, but you might hear another voice, and we get asked quite regularly, who's the other voice? So I'm going to show you who the other voice is. Basically, we've got a interactive teddy bear, and it's called Boo Buddy. Here she comes.
There we are.
There she is. Pretty little beast she is. Looks so innocent. Looks like a child's toy. But I can tell you now, she's anything but. I'll just pass you that a minute,
No worries.
please, Kev. And then if we just turn her on. Find the on switch. Oh, turn her on. I've got no batteries in her. Batteries are in the bag. We get someone to get some batteries. If I give you that one
Did
back,
you
mate.
want me to get some of the other equipment we use as well?
Yeah, can do. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
no
batteries are in my bag there. We'll get some batteries and we'll put them in. I have to apologise. I thought there was already batteries in her, but she interacts. So she's got lots of sensors in her. So it looks like an innocent teddy bear, and the whole point behind that is as a trigger object in a location where potentially there are children. We hope that the children might interact with the bear. And the way the sensors work is on touch, on heat change, on with regards to calling out. So there's trigger questions that the bear asks, and that's the voice that you hear. But we'll get her set up, and then we'll show you a bit later. So
Yeah, so I'll just add that I'm actually in the process of editing some of the Bodmin episodes right now, and I sent a link to you because obviously that was a little time ago, and I heard a voice and I thought, JJ, I got really excited. I heard a child's voice in the background. I said, I don't know why have we not picked this up before, and I sent a short snippet of the video over to Jason and to Kev, and I said, can you confer that this is a child's voice? And he went, no, it's Boo Buddy giving it one in the background. So just be aware of that when you do watch those episodes, and if you think you hear a child's voice in the background, it's probably Boo Buddy.
nice one. And as I say, you'll hear Boo in a minute. But just to run through some of the other equipment that we do use, you've probably seen this one quite regularly, and that's your standard K2 EMF meter. Measures electromagnetic energy as such. It's actually a plumber's tool or electrician's tool, so they can measure cabling and electromagnetic fields that way. And we've used it for a number of different things. Generally, as you can see, it's kicking off.
Phones do tend
There you go.
give you
Yeah.
false readings sometimes.
And that's because of the equipment that we have on. So whenever we're using machines, usually like the K2 and the REM pod, it's because we have all our other tech off. So everything's in airplane mode and as such. And as you see, what it does is light up depending on the strength of the signal it's receiving from an electromagnetic source. However, we have used it in the past to that's Boo Buddy turning on. In the past, to actually check for badly wired plugs, which, you know, when you've got high levels of EM happening all the time, it can actually cause hallucinations, paranoid delusions, headaches, and as such. So it goes hand in hand with the theory that ghosts generate or use electromagnetic energy. So that's what the K2 is there. Here's Boo. So this is Boo.
I'm Boo Buddy. What's your name?
So she's got a little green light in her belly and sensors all over her body. So as I touch her arm, cheers mate, as I touch her arm, you'll see that the lights are red. And what she'll do is every 30 seconds she'll ask trigger questions. So give it a time. She hopefully should react to my sense in 30 seconds or less.
She's shy.
She'll go in a minute.
Did you say something? Could you please say it again?
And every 30 seconds or so, she will ask a trigger question. So when you watch an episode, if you hear another voice, it's probably her. But what I want to send, every 30 seconds she'll ask a trigger question. But if she feels anything, she'll say, oh, has it got warmer? Or has it got colder? Or did someone touch me? So she will actually react to any interactions with her. And they're the interesting things that we want to capture. So if you do hear any other voices in the background, it's Boo. I'll give you Boo. And the other tool that we use, another one of many, is this.
Did you make it warm in here?
See, she's getting warmer now. Is the Mel meter, which is actually built specifically for this game by a gent who lost, I believe, the loved one, and he wanted
His daughter,
it was his daughter, wasn't it? And he invented this tool. But it's got multiple functions. It's a temperature thermometer, if you like, around cold air spots around the actual aerial. So it's a non-touch temperature gauge. And also it's got an EM register as well. So using two different tools to combine the readings of anything you get with regards to with electromagnetic energy is quite interesting. You get the two to register the same thing, then something interesting is going on.
You've got the portal, Jay, as well. You wouldn't talk about that, wouldn't you?
Cheers. Yeah, we've got the portal. You've probably seen that in the Margam Castle episodes, and that's a really interesting tool. We've got the portal that will run through a tablet, which uses Ghost Hunter apps. Absolutely fantastic range of apps. The SCD-1, for instance, is what we've used in the past, and that's where we've actually had the interactions. And that in Margam Castle, you'll probably have noticed in one of the episodes that I ask who built Margam Castle, and as clear as day through the portal it says Hopper, he built it. So normally, if you'd imagine if that was somehow faked in any way, you'd think it would say R. Thomas Hopper, and the name of the guy was Thomas Hopper, but it said in what sounds like a Welsh voice, Hopper, he built it, just flowing like you were having a conversation. And for me, that was fantastic evidence that we captured on that. Probably turn Boo off now, otherwise she's just going to keep talking. Obviously we use Zoom voice recorders. We've got the Zoom 5N, we've got the Zoom H1, which you can see there. These are great mics because they've got the crossover stereo mics on the top, and they're just great for capturing, and we've captured some fantastic voice recorders on there, voice recordings, potential paranormal voices as well.
I think one of the best ones was at a Short Pride, wasn't that time?
Yeah, Short Tunnel. Yeah, one of the best recordings ever. I just bought the H5N Zoom. I'd had it no more than a day, and we did an investigation at a place close to here called Shore Tunnel, which has got a lot of history. It's an old railway tunnel, and kids used to be known to run up and down this tunnel, and unfortunately some kids didn't quite make it back before the train came, and they were killed, unfortunately, by the train. And we were investigating there one night. I just literally had started the recording on the H5N. We're all gathered at the start of the tunnel, tagged it, Shore Tunnel, whatever the date was and the time, session 1, put the voice recorder on the floor. We all went quiet for a bit, and then we went into the session. And when I listened back later that evening on the voice recording, you can hear me tag it, Shore Tunnel, this is the date, this is the location, session 1, put it on the floor. Clear as day, you hear a little girl's voice going, "Oh no, not again!" And that just, I smiled at that, because to me it was, we're always turning up, we're all ghost hunters, we're always turning up going, "Hello, is anybody there?" And I bet they're thinking, "Oh, here we go, here they come again, trying to interact and communicate with us." So it was quite an interesting capture, and we've got that voice recorder there. So let's have a look at some of the questions then. Got any feedback here? Let's see what's going on. So, right, so what gets the best results? I think at the moment we use a combination, as you know. The portal's pretty good. We've had some cracking feedback through the portal, actual sentences giving us correct answers to questions that we've done almost immediately. I think second for great responses is the Ovulus. The Ovulus gives us some words usually related to what we're requesting. It's an interesting one because we often ask, do the words actually relate to the location that we're at and the questions that we're asking, or the theme of the evening? And if they do they relate to any other location that we may have been at, say a pub or a military base? And if the answer is no, then we think that's quite significant. And a good example of that was when we filmed at Davidstow, which is a military base up on Dartmoor, on Bodmin Moor, and we had words like subversion and words like medal and colours, which are all military related words. So for me it's a portal, then it's the Ovulus, and I think from then the K2 with the feedback, if you like. Glass divination is another one that we use. We get some interesting feedback on that as well. The REM pod absolutely is brilliant because that obviously interacts, and we can get yes no answers with that as well.
I think you've tried, we use a bit of some of the old school methods, right? The dice, scrying you've done.
Scrying, yeah.
So some of the old Victorian sort of methods as well.
Yeah. Which
is good. Depending on the location, isn't it, sometimes?
It's worth mentioning, obviously, whenever we do these investigations, we don't do the same things every single time. We try to use techniques that may be more appropriate than those locations. Same with the tech. So like Kev mentions, we've done dice, so just letter dice, ask a question, roll, and then see what the answers are. And the same with scrying, just look into the mirror and see if you can see a figure, can you morph into a different face? And we've had it where people have described the face they've seen, and on research we found out that character is very similar to a character that existed in that property years before. It's all, at the moment you've got to remember, all this is theory. What we're using is a combination of tools and techniques to help try to decipher what we're actually capturing and what we're experiencing. And I think probably the best tool that we could ever use for communicating is ourselves. I think the senses that we have and the feelings that you get, I think is the best tool. But unfortunately, when you relay that to people are only taking you on your word when you say I experienced this or experienced that. How did I start in the paranormal? Good question. Dave asked me this on the show. If you can get over to Beyond the Darkness and have a look on their page, Darkness Radio, listen to the Dave Schrader interview with me. We go on for an hour and a half, but it's quite interesting. And the question comes up, how did I get in? And again, it's from childhood experiences. As a child, I had a very interesting experience where I was lying in my bed. I was only 6, 7, I think, 5, 6, 7, and I was lying there. It was late at night, and I must have had a bad dream. And I woke up and I was screaming out for my mum and said, "Look, Mum, I could really do with a glass of water. I need a drink." And she came round, and off she went downstairs then to get me a glass of water. And I looked to the end of my bed. And at the end of my bed was this dark shadow that was just stood there looking out of my window. And as I was dazed and confused, I've just woken up, I thought it was my mum. So I called out and said, "Mum, why are you still there? Mum, I'd like a glass of water, please." And with that, I looked across, and up the stairs was my mum walking with a glass of water. And she came into the room, gave me the glass of water. I looked to the end of my bed, and the shadow figure was gone. And at first I thought nothing of it, and Dave asked me a very poignant question on the show, which was, how did you feel? Did you feel fearful, or did you feel like it was okay? And the truth was, I felt like it was okay. And I think part of me probably thought, well, it's okay because it's my mum. But after realising my mum had come in my room, I should have then been fearful, as if to say, well, who was stood at the end of my bed? But I wasn't. I was accepting, and I think I went off to sleep. And having chatted with a lot of different people, and Kat, she put this on her video when she live streamed earlier this week, and she also had the same experience with a shadow person. And for me, I think there's so many different people that have had this experience, and they've all gone on to do something in the paranormal. It's almost as though we're being selected by something, and they want us to further the research in it. I'm not quite sure. We haven't gotten to the bottom of it, but there are so many other people that have had the same experience as children. It's an absolutely interesting subject. We've just been asked by William where we are. Thanks for joining us, William. Basically, We're filming at a location we come to recce, possibly for a future episode of Encounters. It's called Radford Lake, and it's in Plymstock in Plymouth in the UK. And where we are at the moment is a number of buildings that are still left here from the early 1600s, I would say. Yeah. As you can probably see here, this is an old fireplace we think has been moved from the main house at the date 1640. So it's a nice grand fireplace, this. But yeah, so we're here at the moment. We've been here for a number of hours before we started live streaming. We've already had a number of experiences, as mentioned, using various devices. And the whole Encounters team are here at the moment. It's a cracking location. In the daytime, we'd have to get some. We've got some photos we'll be putting on after of what this place looks like in the daytime. There's a beautiful lake there, some more buildings just down there. It's a nice countryside dog walking location, if you like. Lots of people walk their dogs here in the day. Obviously not now. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here. Have we been able to get any names?
Names? We had the monk come in, one of the monks coming earlier. Didn't get a name with him. Obviously the white lady who tried to get a name earlier, definitely a name beginning with O, but didn't get very far than that, unfortunately. But that's all we've got really. I will try and get some names, but with the lady, she's coming and going at the moment. But she's definitely still around, but her energy's in and out. But yeah, the monk chap was here earlier, but I didn't get a name from him. Sorry, I will try them. Yeah.
Okay, it'd be interesting
to see if anyone else maybe has. It'd be interesting to see if anyone else has in the UK's ever visited here as well. See what they've experienced.
Yeah.
Maybe it themselves. You know, that'd be intriguing. But yeah, we'd like to get some names.
Yeah, it would be good. I think obviously at the moment, because we're porting at different times, so a lot of the UK people are probably already in bed, or because it's a Saturday night, they might be in the club. But so there's probably going to be a few more questions that may come up after the video is finished, and feel free to ask some questions on the comments, and we'll come back in and answer those, and we'll do another live stream later on, you know, at some other time in the future. But as I say, if you haven't watched Encounters at the moment, please go ahead over to Footprint TV and Dark Zone TV and check out the Encounters episodes, and we hope you like them. As I say, the first episode, the first series, we filmed up at Markham Castle, and that was a cracking experience, big old Gothic castle. And the new series that will be coming out in a couple of weeks' time is at Bodmin Jail, so it's definitely worth a check on that. Susan's asked a great question here. Do we ever try to cross any spirit over to the other side? I'll tell you what, that's a very, very interesting question, and I'll tell you a story about a private house that we investigated last year before, 2 years ago.
It was like 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I'll call Kevin on this one because
it was intense one. Yeah,
it was basically a family that lived close to us, and they had been taunted by something for about a year, and they'd sort of tried to brush it off as it not being anything. And they had two daughters who were quite young, under the age of 15 basically, and a son, and basically all of them, well, it was the older daughter more, she was 14 at the time, was experiencing quite nasty interactions with things being banged, slammed, and then she was starting to see figures in a room. There was poltergeist activity, and then there was visuals and interactions. And then the parents were a bit, you know, is this really going on, or is there something else going on? And it turned out that even the parents then started having their own experiences. And with that, we got called in, because I knew the family. The family said, can you come in and have a look? I said, yeah, sure. And it got to the point, it was so bad that when we got called in, they had already moved out. They'd been chased out of their own house by whatever was there. And when I'd gone over to the house, they wouldn't go near the place. And when I walked in, there was bedding on the floor where they had literally tried to all sleep in the same room, in the lounge, and had literally legged it in the middle of the night, just up to the left because of what was going on. So I'd gone in, and I was waiting on Kev to turn up, and in the 45 minutes I was there, before Kev got there, I was in this house on my own. I've never heard so many bangs, knocks, bangs and crashes from upstairs than anywhere else. I had the voice recorder going, it was going on, there was no wind, all the windows were shut, and it's an end terrace house, and no one was living next door. So all these bangs and crashes were coming from upstairs, and there was no one else in the house. And I went up to investigate these bangs and crashes, and it's probably got to be one of the most fearful times in my life. Unbelievable. But we went up, and then Kev came over, and we carried on investigating.
Yeah, because I did turn around and just said, how long have you been here? I didn't realise you're in the house. And you're telling me, I was like, as soon as you walk in, heckles went straight up. The atmosphere was so thick, it just felt so charged. And then I heard the banging on the side of the building. I said, who's that next door? I didn't realise at the time. And it sounded like someone was kicking a soccer ball against the wall. And we went outside, there was no one there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And then I remember I sat with you and we could hear someone walking around upstairs, footsteps, clear as day. And I remember we went up and I'd done a bit of days and done a bit of mediumship there. And you had an EV recorder running, didn't you? And picked up on a female.
Yeah.
And do you remember what happened on that recorder when you played it back? Because I said, is there a female here? And it's just me and you in that room. But on the recorder, when it played back, you could hear a female voice say, yes.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Which
Captured
was
the
bizarre.
voice. Yeah.
And it was intense. So I mean, as you were about to say, you know, what followed on, we had to get someone else in, didn't we?
Yeah. Basically, we understood why the family left in the middle of the night, and we don't cross spirits over. We're an investigation team. We don't do crossovers, but we know a team that do. And we called that team in, and they came in, and so did the family, and it was a number of sessions. They did their sessions over a number of times, and gradually over the time the family felt more comfortable, and then it got to a period where Kev and I went back in again at the end, and this was weeks later, and the house felt so much calmer, it felt so much better, and the family came back in and they tried to blend back into the house, but with their experiences that they had, they were so fearful that it was a council house, and they actually got the council to rehome them based on their experiences. And for me, that was probably one of the scariest locations, because you're not only dealing with a location like Encounters, we go into old castles, old buildings, people have moved on. What we're dealing with here is a family that is being held sieged in their own home by an unseen force, and especially it was a friend as well. And she's fine now. Do you know what? They moved to a new location, and the whole family are doing absolutely great. Not had any of the same experiences since. So it just goes to show what a difference a change of location can make. Kev, please can you talk about your abilities?
My abilities? Okay. Well, for my abilities, are sort of like I sense things. I don't physically see things that often. I get a lot of images come through my mind, especially when undertaking mediumship. When I do a walkthrough prior to Jason investigating, I may use dowsing rods, may use pendulum, I may just go and see what I sense myself. Before I actually start an investigation, I normally meditate, try and get into my mindset, and I normally get images in my mind. So if you were to imagine, for example, if I said red car, you could imagine seeing a red car in your mind. That's how I sort of perceive things and get feelings. As I said, that's mainly how I work, images in the mind more than anything. Sometimes I get smells, very relevant. I know Jay experiences, he's got a very strong sense of smell, as he's mentioned previously. He definitely gets those experiences. And as I said, I would love to see more sightings and phenomena, but out of the past 18, 19 years I've been investigating, only on 2 occasions, I think, similar to yourself, Jay, I've actually seen what I would describe as a full-blown apparition. Obviously we have a lot of activity occurring throughout the investigations, but it's quite rare to actually see a spirit, isn't it? Or what we believe is a spirit or a ghost. But yeah, that's sort of my abilities really. Also a Reiki practitioner, so I use my Reiki as well, especially with protection, especially in an area that is can have a lot of negative activity, energy. I need to make sure Jason is safe as well, and he's quite, it can be quite challenging sometimes, because you want to go in there, you want to experience it as a whole. So sometimes you just say ease off on the protection, don't you, until you feel you need it. But obviously I want to make sure the team is safe, and at the end of the investigation I always make sure everyone's closed down and we all go home safe as well, because the last thing you want is anything attaching. That's the last thing you want. And to be honest, that one place we did go, which is coming up in a future episode, which was probably one of the darkest places I've ever investigated, I think for you, Jay, as well, for months afterwards. It was quite horrific things we were experiencing. You know, we're talking about strange dreams, just wasn't nice, was it?
No.
I think that place left an imprint on us in a way. Even though we put protection in place, I think the energies there, the forces were there. Not nice, but they lasted for a long time. So that's sort of my abilities, really, sort of sensing and picking up. So that's me.
How did you start out as a medium, Kev?
Well, I joined a group. Originally, I suppose, were interested similar to yourself from a childhood. Had interest in the paranormal, and then for mediumship, I joined a group, and someone was actually had a pendulum out, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And this must have been about 18 years ago now. And I was curious, like, what they're doing with this, like, stone, this pen. Sorry, I thought someone was behind us then. That someone touched the back of my arm. Okay. That was interesting. So the pendulum, I was like, curious, what are they doing? And they said they're talking to a spirit. I'm like, okay. And then I progressed on to dowsing rods, and then I moved on to other things, started sitting in psychic circles, joined development groups, learned how to tune in, how to meet my guide, how to put protection in place, and it sort of spanned from there. And then obviously doing the Reiki as well, which is energy based. That does help a lot, because in regards to energy, obviously we are energy, we're surrounded by energy. So that's sort of pretty much me, how I got into it, really. It's fascinating.
That's brilliant. And do you believe that as everyone has the ability, because I'm of the belief that as children especially have the ability that they see and feel and hear things, and I think I've always been led to believe that as you grow up and as you get educated by the world and also school and other people, that because you're not taught to use those abilities, unless of course your parents also have that same belief, that you lose those
it's
abilities.
It's a shame, because with the child they're very innocent, they're pure, aren't they? And they do, you as you said, I do believe everyone does have the ability. It's just learning how to use the ability, how to train. Some people I feel are a lot more sensitive than others, have a natural ability, so to speak. I mean, I know yourself, Jay, you're very sensitive, even though I know you use a lot of tech, but I've obviously investigating with you over the past 18 years, I know that you're quite sensitive as well. But anyone can do it, I think, as long as you train. It's like anything, you put your mind to it and you train, definitely. But yeah, children very sensitive, as well as animals as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we've both got dogs, haven't we? And,
yeah.
they're very sensitive, and cats. Won't leave the cats out.
Don't tend to bring cats on investigations.
No, it wouldn't look right.
I'll tell you what, just got to say how awesome you guys are. See that you've coming in from Minnesota, Pittsburgh.
Wow.
This is great. You know, it's hard to believe, but obviously we're in the UK, so it's dark here. It's cold here. It's wet here, as usual. Actually, I'll tell a lie. There's no roof on this building, and it's not actually raining, which has got to be the first time ever. But usually it's very wet here. But it's a great location, because when we do have a bit of sun, this place is beautiful. But I will say the weather is perfect tonight for what we're doing. It's just no wind, and there's a low mist that's just over that corner there. We can't really see it, but the lights are illuminating it. But let's see what else. We've got about 10 minutes left, if that's all right with you guys, and then we're going to do a bit more investigating, and we'll put anything up that we've come across tonight. So what answers are we looking for? So you're talking about potentially, why do we do this? What are we hoping to get from this? I think for all groups and ghost hunters, we want to try and capture some undeniably decent evidence to suggest the existence of spirits, ghosts, paranormal, something of the other side. We'd like to find an answer to what happens to us after we die. Do we pass over to another plane? Do we coexist on this earth with our human bodies? No, not obviously our own human bodies, because they've gone, but our human counterparts. Do we move on to heaven and hell? Does that sort of exist? Or is there multiverses? Is it potentially that we're not communicating with the dead, but we're actually communicating with us in another realm, in another plane, on another universe, on another platform? And I put that out there because of an investigation that we did last year before, with another group, and we went to a place called Lidford Castle, which has got some dark history as well, up on Dartmoor.
Yeah.
And Lidford Castle itself, it's an old structure that was used as a jailhouse, as a prison, and it was a very, very dark prison. A lot of prisoners that were held there were mistreated quite badly, and it's known as one of the places that Judge Jeffreys stopped at, basically. And what was interesting was that there was girls and a couple of lads, and the girls stopped into Lidford at the time. They were in the castle. One of the sessions, sat down with a ghost box, so that it's an untuned radio they were running through, hoping to use the white noise and the static to try and get some responses to their questions. And us gents, we all gone over to what's known as the Norman Castle, which is probably about half a mile away from the actual castle. And we'd walked over there. And bearing in mind this castle and the lit Norman mound is right in the middle of the countryside, no phone signal, there's nothing out there. And we'd gone off, it was an hour session, and when we come back, we got told about some communication they'd done, and they'd asked, what's your name on the ghost box, and it come back Jason. My name is Jason. And when she played me the recording back, it sounded exactly like me saying, my name is Jason, yet I'm half a mile away at a Norman mound and very much alive, I like to point out. So we got hold of the voice recording.
Yeah, we definitely alive.
Got hold of the voice recording, and I downloaded it onto the computer, and I did a spectrum analysis between me saying, my name is Jason, and this recording saying, my name is Jason, and it was exactly the same. So then I questioned, did I come through to the ghost box from another realm, another universe? Had we crossed over? So it's worth questioning that maybe we're not communicating with the dead, potentially, but actually are communicating with other people on other realms that may have existed in this area but still live.
Good question, isn't it?
It's a theory.
Yeah.
Doppelganger, as someone has put. That's yeah. I think we all have doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a ghost follow you home?
I think we have. Yeah, in the past. I know I had something follow me home once. Drove all the way home, kept looking in the back seat, then got home and realised something had followed me home. And that was a very long drive.
I bet.
Yeah. Did send her back. I said, please, can you go back? But I think that's why you've got to be so careful. You've got to make sure this was back in the early days, And I think at the time maybe it wasn't closed down properly, the actual investigation. Something had latched on. It was a young girl, it was actually. And she followed us home. And spirit of a young girl, sorry. And definitely sent her back. What about yourself, Jay? Have you?
I don't think so. I don't think. If I have, I haven't been aware of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I can recall a time when I've had an experience where I thought, hold on a minute, that's very similar to what we've had previous. Have I brought something home? So for me, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that I haven't.
Yeah, true. I must admit, at the end of obviously encounters and when we're investigating, we always close down, make sure nothing comes home. We thank the spirits, and make sure that's in place. But it can happen.
William is asking, are you feeling anything right now, Kevin?
Well, as we were talking a minute ago, talking about abilities, something definitely did touch my arm.
Yeah.
That's twice now tonight that's happened. I thought it was just a chance. Definitely feel the white lady still around us, just behind us here. And you do get the atmosphere, just as I said, it keeps changing all the time. It's spiky. I don't know about the rest of the crew. Chelsea, you still getting those feelings? Any noises outside? You getting the guys as well? You're still getting so often,
The sound of a woman still.
Yeah. But I definitely feel, there's definitely something, I'll say more than one thing here. I mean, that monk chap that come in earlier, he's disappeared now, but you got the white lady is definitely patrolling, moving around us. As I said, she has got a thing about rich. So you're not feeling too bad at the moment?
Over here.
Yeah, you feel alright.
When I'm over that end of the room, I feel a little bit more like the hairs on my neck are on, and I get that tingling sensation down, down the side, one side, this left side when I stood over there and you said she's next to me, and I got that, get those shivers, and whether that's actually something there or whether that's the fact that it was mentioned and then you kind of you project it into your mind and react because of what a suggestion, but definitely felt a bit strange in that end of the room. So where you are right now, to be honest, Kev.
That's why we've had the REM pod going off quite frequently tonight. So obviously it hasn't gone quiet the past half hour, but beginning of the session it was actually going off quite frequently, and that's a good thing. We try to tie the psychic methods along with tech as well, and that is things we have had in the past, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really works well sometimes. I mean, but yeah, definitely she's around tonight, the White Lady. It's been a pleasure to actually make contact with her and interact with her, and hopefully we get some more as well later on.
Well, I think we're going to call it, guys. We've been running for just over an hour now. Just want to say thank you very much for all your questions. Susan in Arizona, thank you for coming on and seeing us, and obviously all you guys. William from Pittsburgh, that's a bit far away, and Jean from Minnesota. It's been great speaking to you guys. Alison, we would love to come over to America and do some investigating over there. That's definitely one of our bucket lists. You know, at the moment we've only had the luxury of investigating sort of UK and Ireland and some other little places in Europe, but we would love to get over to America, experience America, because we know you guys have got some fantastic locations out there, especially the asylums. You know, unfortunately, pretty much all of our old asylums have all been closed down and converted into houses, which
apartments,
which makes us cringe. But you know, there's a lot of history and there's a lot of energy in those type places. So for them to suddenly be made into apartments, you know, without any sort of proper closing down or clearing of the place, if you like. But you know, we haven't had those calls yet from various locations that may be wanting to talk to us. However, you know, it's always time. So I just want to say thank you guys. Please watch the last episode of Margam Castle, and if you haven't seen the first 4, please go on to Dark Zone and watch them. As I say, there'll be a break after the last one for a week, but then we'll move in straight into the new series, which will be all about Bodmin Jail, and that's a whole other ball game. Please take a watch. So from Encounters, from Radford Park, from the UK, I want to say thank you very much, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.